Right now in the US, the government is talking about charging a remittance tax. That means if you have an account in the US and you wire money abroad for personal purposes, they may want to charge you 5%. And it looks like the House passed a bill that changed the proposed rate to 3.5%. But I want to talk about in this video what I think this means for banks, for individuals, and how we're generally going to avoid paying this tax, taking control of the system and our own finances in our own way, doing everything the right way, but really just like avoiding the tax. So like if you do it this way, we'll charge a remittance tax. That's why we do it a different way. There's always going to be ways around it. And I think that this is going to be a really interesting thing to see how the banks change their procedures to comply with this. And I'm going to share my screen. E&Y put out a really good article about it. And I'm going to share my screen right now and we'll look at this together. So this came out May 21st. The new reconciliation bill would create an IRC, a new revenue code that has a 5% excise tax. The remittance provider, the bank, would need to collect the tax to avoid liability for it. So the bank has to collect the tax. Citizens and nationals will get a credit for taxes paid and relief from the tax sources, qualified RTPs, and information reporting would be required for all remittances, whether the excise tax is imposed. Now, this is where I'm really interested to see what the banks do. Right now, if you have a personal bank account at a bank, they don't know if you're a U.S. citizen or not. They know if you've given them a W-9 as a U.S. taxpayer, but they don't know if you're a U.S. citizen. And what's interesting is that you can be in the U.S. full-time as a green card holder or as an E-2 visa holder and be a full-time tax resident, but not be a, what do they call it on here? A U.S. citizen or a U.S. national. And they talk about this down here below. Exceptions. No tax would apply. Green card holders are neither U.S. citizens or nationals. Accordingly, excise tax would apply to transfers by green card holders, even if the transfer goes to a qualified RTP. It seems that likely that due diligence beyond the collection of Form W-9 will be required, or the W-9 will need to be updated. So generally, I think that they're going to update the W-9. That would make more sense, but we'll see what happens. The banks might have you check a form to confirm that you're a U.S. citizen or that you're a U.S. national, and then you could be avoid from the remittance tax. Who this applies to is personal accounts, and it only mentions personal accounts that have that are sending money abroad. So if my buddy has a green card and he has a personal account and he wants to send $10,000 to Taiwan or wherever, then they're going to charge $350, 3.5% on that transfer, and that stinks. And it stinks for a couple reasons, because that's an extra tax for you guys, and also because it's just going to add extra compliance. These banks are going to be freaking out. I think they're going to have a big checkup on the accounts, and it might be harder, a lot harder, for non-residents if this passes. This is all proposed, but if this passes, it's going to be a lot harder for foreign people to come into the U.S. and open a bank account in the U.S. Because when there's more stuff for banks to do, they prefer to not have the accounts than to deal with that stuff. So I believe the W-9 might change. The banks are going to have to confirm whether you're a U.S. citizen or not, or national or not. And hopefully that's just an updated W-9 and they ask for an updated W-9. Now, all of that said, how do we get around this and how do we not pay it if it does come into effect? Well, most of my clients aren't using personal accounts. Most of my clients are using LLCs. They're using businesses. And this doesn't apply to businesses for transfers abroad. This only applies to personal transfers, personal remittances. And it seems like if an LLC, even if it's a single member LLC, if it's a business account, it wouldn't be under here. So you could still send money from your business account abroad. I would probably, after it happens, I'm going to make a new video. If this passes, we're going to test it out with clients. We're going to let you know what happens. I'm going to have the best info here. So if you're concerned about this remittance tax and you do send money abroad, I would suggest you subscribe to the channel. And if you're really concerned, we can have a call, but let's wait until this law passes first and see what's going on. But this shouldn't apply to business transfers. If you have business expenses, if you're paying contractors, like I pay people outside the U.S. all the time. And I pay a lot of people who are outside the U.S. that have U.S. companies as well, and then they send their money abroad. But it's from their U.S. company as a distribution. There's nothing illegal with that in the U.S. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. And it's also a great way to avoid the remittance tax. So at the end of the day, this is something that, you know, it was passed by the House. It's wanted by the Republicans. It's probably still going to pass. There's a lot of stuff through this bill. But this remittance tax is going to be a big banking shakeup. I think they're going to be asking for more information. It's going to be harder to open personal accounts in the U.S. And if you're operating only out of a personal bank account in the U.S., it may be time to schedule a free call with me and the team and let us help you open up some business accounts. We have a lot of different contacts at banks. We're going to be talking to different bankers about what this means when it happens. And we help clients all the time open up companies that don't pay taxes in the U.S. and that have bank accounts. So again, I'll share the link here. You can look it up, taxnews.ey, 5% excise tax, and you can read about it. It's only a page. I'm not going to go through all the technical stuff. It's kind of boring. The short answer is that if a foreign person, a non-citizen, sends money or wires or AC or transfers abroad to foreign people, then there's a tax on it. And that we can avoid it by using business accounts and by taking distributions, that's how I would probably avoid it. It says, yeah, without an RTP, no tax would apply, so transfer stablecoin digital assets from one address to another would not be subject to the tax. Interesting. So it's only when RTPs are involved. It's really interesting to see how this all plays out and how it applies. Stay subscribed, then I'll make another video about it in the future. And love to help you out. If you have any questions, comment your comments below, and see you on the next one.